Welcome to the Everyone's a Critic bonus podcast. We'll start with a Patreon, and then everybody will get access to it a little bit later. I'm your co-host, Bob Zera. With me, as always, is professional film critic Sean Patrick. And joining us for this special episode is Josh Adams.
Thank you. This is the one decade where I saw a lot of movies.
Yeah.
Thanks to you guys.
Now we're switching it up. It's the 1970s.
Yeah. Gotta go on
Cool.
the fly.
After all, 80. Oh my God, that's right. The 80s are ending. What do you guys? Well, it's just going to be 1990.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
What are you going to do?
Time stopped.
It's the 30-year.
Shut me down immediately. Cut my mic off.
You'll have to come back for the big Dances with Wolves versus Goodfellas
Oh,
debate.
Jesus. I'm happy to try, but
Where do you stand on Driving Miss Daisy?
it's one that my mom used to watch a
It's
lot.
garbage.
And I wasn't fond of it, but I did like Morgan Freeman. It was my intro. It was my intro to Morgan Freeman. I actually saw Lean on Me after Driving Miss Daisy. So
Robin Hood for me. I was sheltered. But yeah, this episode is going to be a bonus episode, best of the decade. Like I said, it's a bonus Patreon episode first, and it will come out to the masses later. So I'm not going to do all the intro crap we normally do. But yeah, best of the decade. And then we're going to have a little fun because A24 has been so good to us just by making movies we like and nothing more.
Yeah, pretty much.
We're gonna do a top 10 of them as well. So, how do you guys want to do this? Top 10s and then honorable mentions later.
Sure, that's fine.
Do we start with A24? Or do we start with the overall?
Well, I mean, there's gonna be plenty of crossover.
that's true. Even for me, believe it or not.
All right, let's start with the regular then.
All right.
And we'll talk about the A24 in the honorable mentions section. So, Josh, you want to get us started?
We're going top 10, right?
Sure.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I had ranked a number of them, so I should correct myself then. I may or may not have A24 films in my top 10, but, obviously we enjoyed that very much. My number 10 was my number one film of 2016, and that's La La Land. That was a podcast breaker because we all assumed that Arrival would sweep our individual Oscar session, and as it turned out, I just was engaged and surprised by that movie. It's the rare musical that got me to actually purchase the soundtrack, and I enjoy listening to that from time to time. It's worn off slightly for me because the newness of it has kind of gone away, and I thought we might see a new renaissance of young people making classy, innovative, creative films like that. And as it turns out, it was kind of a one-off, it seems. But I still really enjoy that, and I enjoy that I enjoy it too. It's so rare that something like that would appeal to me.
Yeah, La La Land I like that movie too.
I think there's been so much backlash against that since it came out. It's weird. And it's unfortunate because it's a really great movie.
What was the backlash it got?
There's a lot of people who think that it's just not, it was too light and too, lacking heft to be in the Academy Award conversation that it was in. And it didn't win, guys. Get over it.
Won for a second, didn't it?
For a second.
I guess I can go next, and the critic can close the show. He's the headliner. I will, full disclosure, been super busy. I did this very fast, so I probably have missed stuff. But my number 10 is Moneyball. It's my second favorite baseball movie of all time. And it's right up there with Bull Durham, and that's really high on my list of all time. So I just love that movie. I love that it introduces you to the new school of baseball thinking, but at the same time, there's still that magic that baseball has. That every year, every day, you're going to see something you didn't see before in baseball. It's just because that's how baseball is. And I thought Moneyball captured that as good as any movie, or better than any movie ever has, while Bull Durham captured the actual everyday baseball better than any other baseball movie has. And I love baseball, so I'm obviously over jumping things I maybe shouldn't, but Love that movie.
It's an incredibly watchable movie. It's got great
Right.
great rewatchability. You can sit down and watch Moneyball and pick it up at any moment and be entertained by it all the way through.
Yeah, I just had a conversation about Moneyball this weekend. My father-in-law was in town, and we're big baseball fans, and we have our primary focus is baseball when we talk, and it's a good thing he's a baseball fan. We don't really have much else to talk about, but he's really into it, and he understands what Moneyball is about. He understands the new school, etc. And there's even a newer wave of statistical analysis coming on. I've actually listened to a book this past summer called The MVP Something or whatever, and it talks about Trevor Bauer and all of the weird stuff that he does to get ahead and what other teams are trying to do to get ahead. Moneyball is a movie, really. I wonder what they do now and if it's going to be interesting enough to create a new story in the future, because I soak this shit up on the rig. I mean, F4 and I love that stuff.
And if you want to have some fun, I believe it could have been taken down by the movie company, but somebody put together a Brad Pitt with food video on YouTube where it's just Brad Pitt acting with food,
which is every movie.
It's really, there's a lot of it in Moneyball. My number 10 is on this list specifically because of this show. Otherwise, it might have missed my top 10 overall, but Enemy is my number 10. Mm-hmm. Jake Gyllenhaal playing two roles here, and just a movie that's incredibly special because we spent so much time with it. We all kind of discovered it in our own way, and it's just such a unique movie and such a uniquely talented director, and of course Gyllenhaal was on the hottest of hot streaks at that time, and we did an entire episode on it that's still one of the best things we've ever done.
Yeah, you see those YouTube videos where they explain it, and we fucking nailed it down, and we got it. It doesn't get better than that episode.
You two really did. I was really commenting in an old boy sense on what you were talking about, and through the episode, I broke it down even more in my head because I thought I had it.
Well, I think we kind of got there. I think we all kind of had ideas, and by the end of the episode, we just kind of all got there together, and it was... Yeah, and that was before we really knew what A24 was. I think we'd maybe seen it. I don't think we'd ever mentioned it on the show. But that was kind of the movie that definitely jump-started the A24 obsession on our end.
Yeah, and you barely got this one in, right? Because it was at the very small theater that doesn't exist anymore. And they were bringing some independent films every week or so.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, Under the Skin was like supposed to come.
Yes,
and then they shut down or something like that.
I was there. I was the very last potential customer at that theater. I was trying to see Draft Day, and there was a 9:30 showing that I was at, but they locked the doors, and the employee came to tell me, "I'm sorry, the company actually told us to shut it down after 7:30." So I didn't even get to see Draft Day, man. But you're right. Under the Skin was next.
Yeah, I got to see it there. Enemy. I don't know if you did or not.
Lucky bastards.
What do you got for number 9, Josh?
I have Gravity, a space movie about the dangers of space, supposedly, or also the dangers of technology and how small we are in the universe. It's visually incredibly stunning. I don't know if either of you saw it in 3D when it came out. You did? Okay. I saw it in IMAX. I don't remember if it was 3D, but being up against that screen and hearing that IMAX boom go on and all of the sounds of the debris in space going by the ship and everything, it's such a tense movie with just really a couple players involved. And it's such an achievement. Looking back at it now, I think I like it even more than I did then. It's happened a lot with space movies from this decade. I tend to like them more afterwards.
Yeah, that was one of the better. That was a great year. And I'm looking at, because I tried to pull 4 or 5 movies from every year, and that's one of the ones I pulled from. Was it 13?
Yeah,
with like Her and American Hustle and Enemy, Under the Skin, and my number 9 is also from that year. So, that was a fantastic movie. Just a great experience. Anything you want to say on it? You want me to move on?
That's all right. I like Gravity.
And the rewatchability, a factor on that one too, even off the 3D and IMAX. I had Inside Llewyn Davis at number 9. That movie just... It's one of those movies that gets better the more I think about it. And it just keeps growing. I think initially my favorite movie that year was American Hustle. And then this one just kind of kept sticking with me. And it really... That's when my obsession with Oscar Isaac occurred. And now he's doing shit. But he was doing great movies. Went from that to like Ex Machina. And he's just all around awesome. And I love that movie. It's so good. And I don't know if you haven't seen it, go see it. It's great.
I'll add something when I talk about it later.
Yeah, I figured it would come up on your list.
Have you seen it, Josh?
Yeah. I was able to watch it, luckily, late in that season. Very late. It was probably the last one before we actually got to the Oscars. And it's the Coen brothers, for crying out loud. It's going to be interesting, if not great. And it was my first exposure to Oscar Isaac as well. That music, every, decade or 2 decades hits me. Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou? Happened to be the Coen brothers. And this one, and T-Bone Burnett was behind both of those soundtracks in the music itself. It's very impressive, even if it's not the genre of music that I go to first.
A little early Adam Driver in there, too.
Yeah.
My number 9 is Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs is an incredible movie, and nobody gives this movie enough credit. It's just so exceptional. The structure and the look of the movie and the way he captures Steve Jobs in a way that just I didn't think a movie could. Fassbender's performance this is the best of his career, no doubt about it for me. He's so electric. You know, he's just inhuman and ingenious and insidious, and it's fascinating. You can't take your eyes off of him. And the little twists and turns of the stories. That wonderful story about how he just made this piece of crap computer just to stick it to Apple. And just with no intent of it ever actually working, and it works, and it gets him back into Apple. It's such a great story, and he tells it so brilliantly. He's like a real life evil genius, Steve Jobs. And Danny Boyle's direction is amazing. He's telling a life story, but he's doing it with an incredible pace and liveliness that makes scenes as just exchanges of dialogue just feel like an action movie.
Yeah, that's such an unlikely pairing, too. Danny Boyle and an Aaron Sorkin script, right? Yeah. And so the pace of Sorkin is something that we're all very familiar with from various projects, and we expect a certain thing out of him, but Boyle somehow does it better than anyone. His kinetic style seems to be an excellent fit, despite what you might think. Danny Boyle's done a lot of different projects, but maybe nothing quite like a Sorkin thing. And don't forget Kate Winslet in this one is really great too.
Seth Rogen.
Yeah, Seth Rogen. I remember applauding him on the show for bringing me out of the goop when it came to Seth Rogen, because he's got some of the best lines in the past decade in that one about being a genius. You don't have to be an asshole. That is amazing stuff that I've used in real life.
What do you got for number 8?
I have, sorry, Bob. I know how much you aren't crazy about this guy,
you
but
got shitty movies on here. That's cool.
This is, as I've read this week, it's very divisive for whatever reason, and I feel pretentious saying it, but The Tree of Life. From 2011.
I can accept that. I was going to say Interstellar.
Well, I'm not saying that it's not on my honorable mentions, but
Tree of Life's fine. I can at least understand that.
That 2 times that I've seen this movie, it got better the second time somehow. It's such a dream. You'd think that it would be a story about fathers and sons only, but there's this metaphysical aspect to the film in the way that it's filmed, in fact, and the score that goes along with it that puts you in sort of a trance. And it's one of the most meaningful spiritual experiences I've ever had watching a movie. And I would put it right next to 2001: A Space Odyssey, despite the fact that they're in no way related. It's just the style of filmmaking that really got me. I think this is one of the most magnificent movies of all time, not just of the decade.
Yeah, it is deeply moving, especially if you approach it in the right way. Obviously, if you're not in the mood for this movie, then you're not going to be in this movie.
Your eyes are going to roll all the way.
Yep.
And that's fine. It's an exciting movie too. The ideas he has it play, and like you mentioned, the dream stuff and the way that people start, someone will just start to float. It does feel like it feels hallucinatory, and that's really a wonderful experience if you're up for it.
My number 8 is BlackKklansman. You're going to have a lot of recent movies because it's been a good couple years, and I don't know, that was almost like the perfect movie. I would guess all of these really, you could make that argument, but the rewatchability factor is amazing on that one. The direction's amazing, the message amazing, the acting's great. It's back-to-back Adam Driver movies that I have on my list. Spike Lee, Denzel's kid, I can never remember his goddamn name. I'll never remember that.
He's going to love him until Tenet comes out.
No, I like him.
Oh, okay,
I like the movie. I might. If it's good, it's good. It was a ton of fun. I don't really know what else to say about it other than maybe it's still too recent, and that's why it's, knocking out like Gravity and Drive and all these other movies, but I like it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of BlackKklansman as well, and it's nice to see Spike Lee back and doing some of his best work ever,
right?
And working in that transgressive realm that he's so great at, and commenting on both then and now. It's really bringing yesterday into today is really. Really powerful fashion as well.
Yeah. That film is the articulate voice of what I would like to use for most social arguments regarding our political situation. It's just so well stated and said. It just missed my list.
My number 8 is Arrival. This is a brilliant movie. Jacques Villeneuve just is an amazing director, as we already know. And, Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, a wonderful cast. And this movie, I feel like I was taught something about movies by this movie. And it's in the way that Jeremy Renner's character is written and the way that character is used in this movie is so clever, and it's a wonderful piece of screenwriting and filmmaking trickery to use that character in the way he is, and how pivotal he is, and how people don't realize until later. And so you have to sit down and analyze it to realize this couldn't have happened without him, even as he might not seem at front, throughout. I loved that. I loved being able to discover that, but I also love being able to discover this movie throughout. What is Amy Adams whispering to the general in that moment, or these little touches that she adds throughout in her performance and in that character. It's it's a movie of incredible depth and artistry, and taking genre filmmaking and turning it into a work of art.
I'll talk more about it later.
I will say this. It might have been the most satisfying moment on the podcast for me when you guys really enjoyed it as much as you did when I was screaming about it when the teaser trailer came out. And we liked Villeneuve at that point. It just happened to be a science fiction movie. We were worried about what he would do with a bigger budget, etc. And as it turns out, he completely has floored us every time that he's done something.
Hasn't always been profitable.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I'm not even sure if Arrival was, for that matter.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
Or they would never get on Blade Runner. But yeah, I'll get to it later. What do you got for 7?
Number 7 is tough because I'd like to have it a little higher, but at the same time, this is where I started to really struggle. 7 down to 1. In theory, all of my number 1s for these past 6 to 7 years or whatever should really be in the top 10 in theory.
Right.
But there's stuff like Arrival that was number 2, and it kind of kicked a number 1 down, etc. A Star is Born is my number 7, and I know that not everybody's crazy about it. It's gotten a little overkill, of course, because of the main song in it.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it a second time, and all I can remember is how powerful it was for me the first time, and that idea of two people just getting together and creating something very personal between the two of them and presenting that to the world. There's something magical to me about music making. And I'm not a music maker myself, but boy, I love watching people do it. It reminded me of Once, but handled with better craft, I guess you could say. And nothing against John Carney, because I love him, but Bradley Cooper is a first-time director. You've got to be kidding me. There's so much perfect about this movie to me that I can't help but alleviate it above a few of these options that I pushed down.
I know I don't love it as much as you guys did, but I think it is a wonderful combination of the personal and the blockbuster, if you will. It's a personal and it's a perfectly mainstream movie that has a very wide appeal, and that's certainly impressive. And for a first time director, I mean, I wrote about some of the directorial touches that Bradley Cooper brought to this. It's really very smartly directed.
Yeah, it's really impressive. It's also my number 6 as well. It's. That's the hard part. Like you mentioned Once, and you call this better. I think a lot of it is money. This is allowed to be. You got Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga, so you're going to have a bigger budget, and that's why I wanted to do a separate A24 list. Is because money does matter. I mean, I hate knocking off movies because of certain. I don't know. Part of me is like, well, maybe just throw the Mandys and the Mothers and put those in my top 10. But those, as fun as they are and as bold as they are, they're not the total package. And that's what I'm trying to accomplish here. And A Star Is Born, it really is a total package. And sometimes when you have the total package, you lose a little of that indie cred, I guess. But it's such a good movie. And I have watched it a couple times. And I do think it gets better with each viewing. I don't know. And plus, I have that music bias, same baseball, Moneyball. That's why it made the list. It just makes it more powerful for me because of, showing that scene of them creating that song, even though I don't ever want to hear it again, is pretty magical.
When I think of that movie, it's more La Vie en Rose that she performs in the bar than Shallow that does it for me. It's great that she goes up onto the stage during that and the camera tracks her as kind of a one-shot scenario. That's really neat, but for me it's the moment that I agree. But them creating the song is pretty amazing because you buy it. It's not eye rolling. It's just really, I don't know, it's a tight movie, and I don't know, I enjoy it quite a bit. And I noticed Uncle Jeff had it in his top 10 of the decade as well. Yeah.
Did you say 6 or 7? I thought you said 6.
7, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
My number 7 is Inside Llewyn Davis, to revisit that for a moment. The Coen brothers and Oscar Isaac, Adam Driver. Just an amazing, amazing movie. The Coen brothers are so incredible, and it's sad that they've taken so much time away to do TV and have missed out on making more movies in the last couple of years. They did, Hail Caesar was the last thing they did, and that was a great movie, a wonderful film, but doesn't really hold up next to everything else that they've done. And I hope we get to see them back soon, doing something like this, which is such a unique and odd idea, because it's just about this really jerky character, and who happens to be this really brilliant musician, and it's such a wonderful study of a person who he's just such a dick.
Just keeps making the wrong decisions
exactly.
the entire
Every
way
turn.
through it.
It's wonderful. and Oscar Isaac just captures it perfectly. This guy is he's arrogant. He's so arrogant.
And this is the perfect example of, this is probably better than A Star Is Born, but it's that, I don't know. I don't know why I'm it's so hard to pick what's better than not it, but I don't know.
As always, we must acknowledge how silly this is. Yes,
but it's really hard for me to sit there and why do I like one better than the other? I don't know. I really couldn't tell you, and I guess when you get to this point, you're really just you're cutting straws.
If there's anyone out there that discovered Oscar Isaac as a result of the Star Wars movies, imagine the shock they would get if they went back in his filmography and saw A Most Violent Year or this one.
I'm not sure their intelligence could handle it.
Well, even I have to admit, like in Star Wars, Oscar Isaac is wasted on the films.
Absolutely.
Number 6.
My number 6 is my number one on this show. Back in 2013, Her. Joaquin Phoenix as kind of a loner loser who falls in love with a computer program voiced by Scarlett Johansson. It's Spike Jonze's direction. He's got these quirks in his filmmaking that really appeal to me. And on top of that, the idea seems timely still in even getting more like that, it seems, where everyone is at a distance, and so what you feel closer to is what's in your own home and what can be brought to you, not necessarily what you can go find. So in reminding myself of this movie, I was thinking about not just the technology and how this is on our doorstep, but also how do we maybe get away from that? Or is it okay to fall in love with something that's completely artificial? People do it all the time with dolls, so I don't know. Or just Ryan Gosling maybe in Lars and the Real Girl.
We're still making Her. What's funny is
Yes.
like there was 2 movies this year
Yeah.
that took this exact same premise. Both of them were shit.
Well, the Netflix one was at least fun.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no logic behind it.
It's called Amy. and
A.I.M.I. It's like Siri.
It's got a great ending. At the very least, that ending is killer. But
It's one of those where you have to let logic go out the window to get to the ending. But if you can do that, hers. And just the way they did Scarlett Johansson too. The movie was done. They brought her in at the end. I don't know. The whole thing is
that's crazy.
fantastic. Just great filmmaking all around. And Joaquin Phoenix has really never slowed down.
it's true.
Since prior to that movie, probably. And my number 6 is The Big Sick. I love that movie. It's a perfect movie with multiple stories going all at once. It's very personal. It's very real. And I don't know. I think what, oh my God, I forgot his name. Kumail Nanjiani. You can just feel how invested he was into that movie. And it really stuck with me, and I loved every aspect of it, from his story to the in-law story to him and his wife's story. Just everything going on at once it was handled so perfectly that I don't know. It was just remarkable. I don't know.
I'll get to it later.
Okay.
Much higher on my list. My number 6 is The Social Network. David Fincher making the Facebook movie, and we're going to do this as a classic sometime next year. And it's such a great movie. What am I going to say about this? Jesse Eisenberg's performance is so prescient of the internet. He is the internet. I mean, he's basically, when you look at internet comment sections, is it not this guy? Does it not reflect who this guy is? Just a complete jackass. And he doesn't even realize it. He's such a jerk. That scene with him and Rooney Mara, where she's breaking up with him the very first time, their very first meeting, the first time we see them together, is just, it's so prescient. It's everything that's happened since then is this movie. It's just so predictive of the rest of the world. It's so remarkable, and people don't give this movie enough credit. And Armie Hammer as the Winklevoss twins, just pitch perfect. And you've got Andrew Garfield in there playing the audience surrogate, who's also a real character, but he's us. He's really serving the purpose of us alongside Rooney Mara and kind of sharing that burden. And a perfect script by Sorkin, and Fincher's direction is just electric. I mean, he's just completely on point. It's awesome. Just so awesome.
I'll get to it later.
It was part of my honorable mentions. That's like a dream team right there, Sorkin and Fincher. But since 2010 or 11 when it was released, Facebook is so different now, and it's taken on a more life than that film had to offer. But I think that's more of a story about Zuckerberg.
Yeah, to me, it's that ending when all he's looking for is the friend. It's kind of that Rosebud moment where I've always called it the modern day Citizen Kane, and I really think it is. It's that good. I don't know. I'll say that again later in like 20 minutes. Anyway, what are we next? 5?
Surprise, surprise, a journalism movie. Spotlight was my number one in 2015, and everyone knows the story. There's no point in me rehashing that part. It's just the power of truth and the necessary purpose that journalism serves in this country to expose things that don't otherwise have a voice. It's never been more important in film to me than Spotlight, and there's a lot of other examples that we could talk about. Citizen Kane, even if you really wanted to go there. But it's incredibly important to me that more people see movies like this when journalism gets such a bad name to the point where if you say something that's true based on the source, all of a sudden that discredits you or something like that. And I don't get it. I was raised to believe that news is news. News is fact. And now it's muddled, and I hate that. And this is purity. That movie's purity for me.
Yeah, and it's an honorable mention for me. I love that movie. And it's frustrating that the media is what it is. But then I've mentioned before, Ronan Farrow, the stuff that he's done is fantastic. And you have those individual journalists that you can rely on and count on. But then even we talked about that Clint Eastwood movie, that particular, the one who they villainized, what she did was fine. What they've missed the whole boat on was the media took up and they just made a circus out of it. And that's where the issue is. And it frustrates me that we get lost in that and we lose out. We're missing out on tons of stories like this because of the circus that is, the 24-hour news media.
Yeah.
But Spotlight is fantastic. I have Arrival at number 5. It's weird, too, because I'm assuming it's not on your list. Maybe not a mention.
It is right after the top 10.
Right. So this is the one that he wanted us to like, and it ends up shown in my list. But not
I
his.
assumed that would happen.
I don't know. Amy Adams might be my favorite actress. She has been pretty nonstop all decade long. American Hustle, that TV show she did on HBO was great. She's just been. I'll even take her as Lois Lane. I know the movies haven't been great, but she wasn't the problem. I'd rather she not be in those movies, do things like this. But Arrival was just such a unique experience, and like Sean said, you're kind of learning. He changed the way you look at movies. They took a character, and you've brought this up before, that the Jeremy Renner character, you've used that to explain The Irishman, to explain other movies where they, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where had he been a female character and a bigger name, you're going to have people in the media saying, why aren't they giving her lines, or why aren't they doing it? It matters. It makes that movie more powerful. Yes. And I don't know if that's the first one to do it. It's the first one I can think of that, that really had that much of an impact, and even more so in Arrival than the other two that I just mentioned. But it is a flawless movie and you're talking about a subject matter that I could give two shits about, or a genre at least.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, it's my La La Land. But he's one of my favorite directors, and I root for him every step of the way. I love everything he's done. I'm scared to death what this Dune movie is going to be. I want it to be great, and I think it'll be great. I want it to be profitable so he can keep doing this.
Yeah.
But the Villeneuve, whatever the fuck his name is just top notch, and it is a fantastic movie. What do you got?
Where are we at?
5.
Gone Girl. This is another Fincher movie. It's Ben Affleck starring along with Rosamund Pike. I really thought she'd be a bigger star by now.
I know.
After this movie, she's so amazing in this. It's such a perfect piece of casting. She is this character. And she is so integral to this whole thing. That twist in the middle of the movie stunned me. It knocked me dead. I could not believe what I was seeing. It was so well played. And then everything that comes after that, you've got this remarkable bits of violence that she gets into. The little character touches that she adds, just being like she's sloppy. She's got this messed up car. She goes and she's living by herself and she's hiding out. And she's just leaving pizza boxes everywhere and just eating. Just like it's such a weird shit that she's doing. Just these little tiny little character touches. It's just brilliant. And then Affleck, I mean, playing off of both being Ben Affleck but also being this character, the way he melds that into this movie is so ingenious. Oh, God, it's just a wonderful piece of direction again. Fincher is just so completely in control and manipulating you the whole way. Neil Patrick Harris has just a couple of really phenomenal moments in that movie. I can't wait to look back at it. I think what I was actually going to pitch you on is that we're going to do a special Patreon episode about Gone Girl specifically next year, just to see if we can watch it again. Just to watch it again.
Josh, want to come back?
I do, actually, and I can just go right off of that. That's my number 4 is Gone Girl. I'm reticent to say that it's Fincher's best movie because he's had so many good ones. I mean, Social Network and Seven, and those just off the top of my head. And I've enjoyed a lot of things that aren't as great just for visual style alone, but I remember that moment in the theater when we were there. Yeah.
Fairly close.
Yeah, and I went with my buddy, and I was so scared to say that I loved the movie afterwards.
So was I.
Because if you hated it, I knew that I didn't know what the hell I was talking about.
Because we've had these experiences on the shows where it's like, well, Hereditary for us, and then when you didn't feel that way, it was a letdown, and then I love this movie so much because I'm going to get to it later. Knowing you were there, and I just was like, he doesn't like this. There's no way he's going to like this movie. And just the doubt and I was scared to find out. And I don't think we didn't talk, did we?
Nope.
It was when we got back to
see you Sunday.
And ended up being probably the movie of the podcast, even more so than Enemy, same year.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I don't know. Fincher is God, as far as I'm concerned. Is it my turn then?
Yep.
Number 4. Maybe I'm low on this, but Hereditary. We're splitting hairs. I mean, we've admitted that. I don't need to keep repeating that. But Ari Aster he has not missed, and he's gotten better movie to movie. And to me, this is a perfect horror movie. I understand why people don't like it. I think they're missing something, and every time I watch it, it's just like, oh my God, it gets better. And there is, and Midsommar even helps because there is something going on all the time. There's stuff in the shadows you can't even see, and it just, I mean, I know it kind of follows a Rosemary's Baby kind of storyline, but I when I'm watching it, that doesn't pop in my head. That's usually the argument I hear about it. You know, the craziest parts in the middle. You know, it's a work of art, and to me the last 5 are perfect movies, and I just love this movie.
It's my number 4 as well, Hereditary, and. Ari Aster is a genius. It's just a masterpiece of a movie, and it's the production design that always gets me. The little tiny details. That opening moment where he just takes you into this model, and it's quick, and it just imperceptibly becomes an actual room that Gabriel Byrne walks into, and Alex Wolff is in the bed. And that's just such a wonderful detail. But then the little models throughout, and then the way he uses production design, changing the size of things in the room just to kind of manipulate the way you see everything. It's just ingenious. It's just, I mean, masterpiece level. The attention to detail in this movie is incredible, and that's what gets me every time. And I don't care about the other stuff,
Right?
Like the other problems that people have. I love Toni Collette climbing on the ceiling is one of the best things I've ever seen. And then when she loses her head, I mean, it's just it's gut wrenching. It's gut wrenching.
Yeah, go and watch Waves, and then after you watch Hereditary, and have fun with that. Because those two together, even though they're two different directors, I know he's not even feeding off it, but their heads are out the window a lot in that movie. And the way he films that movie, I know it's not in my top 10, but right. It was last year for 2019. I don't know. It's not about being the scariest movie of all time. You can't scare anybody in the theater anymore. It's just a piece of art, and I understand the problems. And to me, it's more those are people who are at the surface. They're not digging in. My brother, he goes, well, the best part's this part. If they change this, it all falls apart. Well, they didn't change it though. They did. And you could have turned it into the Babadook, but that isn't on anybody's list. So I mean, I don't know.
I love the Babadook.
I do too, but it's not on our top 10, is it?
It's not. It made my honorable mention list though.
And Hereditary didn't.
It didn't. But you know what though? I wanted to say something about the attention to detail. What struck me the most about that film, what I enjoyed the most about it, is this idea of model making that Toni Collette's character is doing, and how that definitely mirrors the relationship with her mother. And it's not so subtle. Like it's if you're smart enough, you obviously get that part, right? But it's how she deals with those models. It's like she's speaking to her mom through them, and I thought maybe that was going to be the onus of the film, right? That there was something inherently supernatural about that or whatever. And instead it went in a different direction. And that's fine because whatever. But that about the film, that style of showing the detail, you'd almost have to, considering that's inherent to the story too.
Well, it's what's exciting, and just you think about this. When I think about this movie, I find something new about it every time. And we're talking about the models, the nonchalance in the way that Toni Collette approaches making a model, where her own mother is breastfeeding her child, and the nonchalance with which she approaches portraying that is so deceptive, and it's so much part of the tone of the movie, and you're in the audience looking at that going, why aren't you more fucked up? Like, you should be even more fucked up about this.
Right. It gets, when M. Night Shyamalan did The Sixth Sense, we've all been looking for that twist, and we're all trying to figure everything out. He doesn't allow you to figure anything out, and yeah, they go down a route that I guess you could, I don't even like to call it typical, because it's not. In fact, at this point, it's no one's really gone down that route since the 70s. So, but he just kind of gets you out of that mindset, and then you're just kind of experiencing it, and that's really what is impressive. And I'm sure we're gonna get to the other one later, but I think you're gonna like that one better than Hereditary. I do feel like the people who didn't like Hereditary are more in love with Midsommar.
I definitely like that trailer, but I also like the Hereditary trailer. I just know that whenever I do see Midsommar, I'm going to immediately send a message to you guys and let you know what I thought.
That was a piece of shit. I did get that text.
Well, hold on a second, though, because, there's the possibility that it'll pull a Rachel getting married on me, in which I'm yelling at you guys at the beginning of the film, what the hell is going on? I hate these characters. Oh, this is a masterpiece. Whoops. Number 3?
Yeah.
Talk about a change in venue here. It's About Time. Literally, it's the movie About Time. It's in my top 50, so it's easy to include here. But I love what the group in England that consists of Richard Curtis, sometimes Roger Michell, sometimes what they do with romance and comedy intertwined, whether it's Notting Hill or Four Weddings and a Funeral, Love Actually, whatever the case may be. there's something very unique in their own style about every movie that they make. This one weaves in time travel in such a simple, weird way, and then it manages to have various relationships throughout the film that are all wonderful. The relationship between Domhnall Gleeson and Bill Nighy, Rachel McAdams and Domhnall Gleeson, Gleeson and his mom, the sister involved too. There's so much character in this movie and so much love going on that it just overwhelmed me the first time that I saw it. It was a complete surprise that I felt this strongly about it. And I'm obviously going off of emotion here. It's not like it's groundbreaking film by any means, but this one will stay with me more than most films on this list.
Well, that's the point, too. If we all had the same 10 movies, this would be boring. And, I mean, that's really what it is about. I love that movie. It's not my genre at all, but it's such a one. It's rewatchable. And whenever you can convince me to watch a romantic comedy it's not really comedy, but a movie like that doesn't appeal to me, and then it ends up being amazing, that's always special.
It's the only film that I can think of where a character has to arrive at the decision of, if I do this, then I'm never going to have this child. And as a parent, that's something I've thought of before. Like, if I had made decision X, I never would have had my son. And that's so frightening to me.
I'll be honest, that's part of the appeal to Arrival for me is
yes.
Where we at?
3.
3. Repeat, Social Network. I keep calling it the Citizen Kane of this era, and I believe it. I think David Fincher is the best director of all time. I think he's maybe too perfect, and maybe he makes people do too many takes. I don't know. I mean, I'm in the middle of watching Zodiac, and it is just pure joy. I just love what he does. Even like The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, I don't care about that story, but you know it's good. You know, this guy does not. He just doesn't disappoint. He is phenomenal, and even the Janie's Got a Gun video is awesome.
Even Alien 3 is awesome from a certain point of view.
I agree. I agree completely. I love David Fincher, and I love this movie, and it's perfect. And we've already talked about it. So, what do you got for 3?
My number 3 is The Neon Demon. Nicholas Winding Refn, and just so messed up. It's just such a messed up movie. I just watched this movie with my jaw on the floor the entire time, just kind of blown away at how bold and artistic and dangerous and transgressive this movie is. It's bathed in blood, and just, I mean, he paints himself into corners and just goes to the absolute extreme to get himself out of it. And the extreme he goes to at the end is so shocking and so violent and so awe-inspiring. It's just one of the most incredible twists at the end of any movie I've ever seen. Jenna Malone in this movie blew my mind. She's so great. I mean, I love this movie so much. And Nicholas Winding Refn, I wasn't sure whether or not his stuff was ever going to work for me fully. Like, I like Drive. The movie he did with Ryan Gosling after that was...
Yeah.
This movie was incredible. It's an absolute perfect masterpiece.
Imagine, I think that was the week that Independence Day Resurgence also came out. And I saw that earlier in the day, then got to see Neon Demon at night, right before I came to the show. And the jaw hitting the ground is exactly the right expression that I would use. This movie it's eating pop culture and all of the dressing up and the fakeness of all the things that the movie portrays. It just eats it, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, part of me wanted to make my list all movies like this, and then I just kept, well, how do you leave this out? How do you leave that out? And I mean, between this and Mandy and other movies that are like it, this one probably is the most perfect of all of them. But there's a lot of bold ass movies that the Virgin movie,
Night of the
Virgin, The House that Jack Built. There's a lot of these weird fucking movies that came out that even Lords of Chaos to a lesser extent. That there's a lot of fun movies that should have been on the list, and I'm kind of bummed that I didn't include one of those. But Neon Demon's fucking awesome.
My number 2 is Joker. It's going to be my number 1 film of what I've seen this year, which is much less than the previous 6 years, obviously. But this is it's like all of my frustration with the world from a child all the way through adulthood is wrapped into this character who I live vicariously through. And that doesn't mean that I'm desiring to be a psychopath or a criminal or anything like that, but it's just like this ball of angst releasing itself in whatever way you interpret the film. That's so delightful to see. Cinema is where we go to escape, right? Not always is it a good escape. Sometimes we're there and are experiencing terrible things that we know are satisfying to our souls. And Joker is satisfying to my soul. Not only do I love this character from the beginning of the time that I cared about Batman's not in the movie, really. And so...
a baby. Little kid.
Just focusing on my favorite villain of all time and then somehow transcending my expectations, which is a Todd Phillips expectation. Despite the fact that I've seen King of Comedy and it's
Taxi
heavy
Driver.
borrowing from those two films, exactly, it still is so very satisfying to me. And this is one that's going to stick with me for a long time. I almost, with everything that has happened in the world that has frustrated me over the past 4 or 5 years or whatnot, I felt better after seeing this. Almost that we can get away from it somehow. It doesn't trap us. We still have the ability to escape. So it's nice.
I'm of two minds in this movie. When we did the podcast, I was fresh and I was with you, and I'm still with you more than I'm with him. But he's not wrong when it's to me, it's a mirror back at yourself. And when you're looking at it like that, it's like, this is what I'm doing wrong and what I could be better about. And that's where I feel this is what you're supposed to take out of this movie. I do think people are taking it wrong, and that pisses me off, and it makes me move the movie down a little bit. And that's what bothers me about it. I will say, between this and A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, very similar movies on totally opposite ends of the spectrum. Go see that, though. I'm telling you, it's fucking amazing.
I believe you.
It makes me feel like it's not about what everybody else needs to do different. It's what I need to do different. And this, I think the Joker, if you're watching it the right way, tells you this is what you're doing wrong. This is where your issue is. And we kind of, when we had the episode, I think we kind of dug into that. I love the movie. It bugs me that people are at it wrong. And part of me is like, well, the sequel, what if he's not even the Joker? I mean, that's a totally possibility.
That's true.
And that doesn't bother me at all. But there's just things that there are people that are pissing me off about it. But I do love it. I feel like the way it's supposed to be seen, it does make you want to not be those guys in the subway, you know. And we all are at times, whether we want to admit it or not. I don't know. I love the movie, but I'll be honest, it was like my number 10 of 2019.
Oh, sure. I know that I'm one of the very few.
No. You're one of the many, but I don't think you're wrong, and I think you're watching it the right way, but there are people that are annoying me with it.
Most definitely, with all massively popular films, of course. What I mean by I think I'm alone on it is more films of the decade. Of all of the lists that I've seen, obviously, I have not seen this on any of them.
I think most people just assume it's too new to put on a best of the decade list.
Sure thing.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
My number 2 is Mad Max. I'm just kidding.
Well, that would make sense.
I do think that's the best action movie of the decade, though. I'll stand by that. But my number 2 is Gone Girl. We've said it. Perfect movie. I can't wait. I want to do that podcast that you said. I watched it a few times. It gets better every time. David Fincher is the best that's out there. His collective, he just doesn't have that I'll say the game is a miss for me because I walked into the theater and said, if this ends up being the game the whole time, fuck this movie. And guess what? Call it something different. Otherwise, though, Panic Room, whatever, but everything else has been pretty fucking awesome. Seven, Fight Club. This guy is, Scorsese has a lot more misses than he does. So, and they're just, this movie is so complicated and so, you make one false move and it falls apart, and he just, he just he just followed that thread perfectly, and it pisses me off that I feel like we're on an island. Right now I have to fight what's better, the book or the movie. Well, it's not even close for me, but I don't know.
How great is Fincher? He made Tyler Perry good.
Yes, that's right. Oh, wow. That is a tall order.
Well, it's like you said, if people like Rosamund Pike should be a huge star right now. The chick from those
Carrie Coon.
Yeah, there's, I don't know. It's annoying that I feel like we're on an island when it comes to this movie, because I really do feel that way. There's a couple people that like it here and there. I think there's another podcast that had it in its best of the decade that you were saying.
Oh yeah,
but it's few and far between. Gone Girl is phenomenal.
Carrie Coon, you might hold off on that becoming a big thing until the summer. She's in the Ghostbusters film, and she's a lead, and nobody recognized her at Avengers Infinity War. So,
and we've picked like the chick from the Happy Death Day movies,
Jessica Roth.
I'm surprised she's not bigger. What I think we're getting right, and maybe we're a little late, we'll get to it probably at number one, is, I forgot her name. Florence Pugh. She's going to be huge.
Yeah, she's got a big old movie coming up in May.
And she had the best year, 2019, as far as I'm concerned.
No doubt about that.
Number two,
The Big Sick is my number two. Camille Nanjiani and Emily Gordon, and just what a wonderful movie. It's just so romantic and smart and funny and sad. Ray Romano and Holly Hunter are incredible. The real conversations that they get down to over the time while she's out, while she's unconscious, those moments are just so beautiful. Just Ray Romano trying to be friendly, doesn't know how. You're just so awkward. Just full dad mode. Holly Hunter's just a bitch. She just does not go. She's not going to talk to this guy. And he hangs in there and he wins him over, and it's so lovely. Just perfectly written, just deeply felt. These obviously they lived this, so it's extraordinarily deeply felt for them. But to be able to tell that story and help other people feel what you were feeling in that just tells you just how brilliant this movie is.
And how many times does a movie try to have too many stories running at the same time and have it fall apart and not work and not tie everything up? This one, it does it remarkably. And I'll be honest, I think I got scared to move it up higher. I don't know why I'm scared. Arrival, Hereditary, Social Network, Gone Girl, they're all right there. I'm glad that it's this high on yours list. That makes me feel better about, where I feel with this movie. I just really love it. And at some point, that's going to hurt the podcast because I'm pretty sure our top six are just rearranged between the two of us. And now that Josh is gone.
Yeah,
there's that.
There is that.
All right.
Number one?
I'm ready for it. Cloud Atlas. Let's go.
Yeah.
Hey, here's the thing. Before you go, in your defense, I think Tree of Life and Cloud Atlas are a lot alike.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm okay with I'm at least you're consistent. He's not.
What?
I'm just kidding. You don't like Cloud Atlas.
I hate Cloud Atlas.
The structure of Tree of Life and the filmmaking of Tree of Life, I can't argue that it's not superior because it is. And Tree of Life is more of it resembles more of a dream state than Cloud Atlas, but Cloud Atlas is still like a dream to me. The music of it, the images that we see, the odd connections that people have, and if gosh, you had mentioned if you go into Tree of Life with the wrong viewpoint, wrong attitude, you've had a bad day or whatever, you're not going to sit through Tree of Life and come away with it feeling wonderful. I definitely came to Cloud Atlas at the right time. I didn't see it in the theater, which I badly tried to. There were like 3 different times I tried to see it and something came up. I didn't get to it. And then when I finally got home with it, and it was just me watching it, and I got to spend time with it and be very personal with it, and I connected with it in a way that I haven't connected with any other film. And I recognize that we're talking about the Wachowskis here and Tom Tykwer. No, not master filmmakers, but they do make a style of film that I'm interested in, and so I've connected to it on a deeper level style wise, as well as own thoughts that I've had over time. Dreams that have been similar, not the whole movie, and not like cannibalism and people being fed themselves or whatever. That's not happening in my dreams, but it's just gory enough to remind you that you're watching a rated R movie, but I think it swings hard. And if there's one thing about me on this show, criticisms abound. I know them very well. It's that I will swing hard, and I appreciate films that swing hard.
Well, that's the thing I love about you is like even like Interstellar is. We all recognize the story kind of is flawed, but you know what you like in it. And there's been so many movies, man, on fire that you just grab onto a certain part of it that was so that they do great, and that for me that's what just takes me out of it and pisses me off. It's like because Interstellar was great, and then it was just like, what the fuck? Come on. And
I'm reminded of the famed question: why don't they make the whole plane out of the black box?
But that's what. We're all sitting here walking the fine line. Like we're talking about Hereditary, we're trying not to insult you. When you're talking about Tree of Life, you're trying not to insult me and Cloud Atlas. You're not like when I watch. Like I feel like when I watch Tree of Life, I feel like I got it. I don't feel like I'm. When people go, "Well, you just didn't understand." I feel like I understand. I found it eye rolling, and I'll admit, 100% it's mindset. I went into it with it's not really the movie for me. If David Lynch does it and he's going to do it dark and fucked up, then I'm going to be more into it. Cloud Atlas and this, to me, they were very. I got it, both of them. I was just, it's not for me, and I don't think it's a matter of bad filmmaking. I do think it's a bad money decision.
Oh God, yes, it lost money.
But at the same time, it's frustrating that you can't be totally artistic with. I mean, I understand why you can't be. It's it's that balance, but you should be able to tell your story, and I don't know. It's that.
Yeah, the weird thing about Cloud Atlas is that if the people that I've met that like it, it's like their favorite movie, like me. And so I feel a bit of a kinship, and whatever that may be, whatever that means, I haven't figured out yet. But what you say about what I like about movies, and I kind of just decide what I like about them and kind of leave everything else out.
All the time, but there are certain movies, right?
That is true, and a smarter person would call that projection, I think. Like my wife will say, yeah, you're projecting something upon this. And I'm like, no, I'm not, in defense, knowing absolutely that she's right.
But the point of the podcast isn't to just be like, here's what Sean and I like, and fuck you all. Yes. It's to bring different perspectives. Like it bugs me that we can't bring a Super Troopers fan on here and have someone defend that, because there is an audience for that. And it's about celebrating movies, not so much tearing them apart. And it's fun to tear them apart at certain times. But I don't know. I love that you love Cloud Atlas, and I'm glad you kept it at number 1. And it's not a bad movie. It's definitely in its own lane, and that's really what a lot of these movies are. And my number 1's in its own lane. I'm sure it's yours is the same thing.
I know what's happening here.
But I'm telling you, watch Midsommar and call it a movie. You know what I'm saying? And probably Cloud Atlas, call it a movie. It's that's why you either love it or hate it. And Midsommar obviously is our number 1 movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
And look at where it's been talking about with the Oscar buzz. It's not even being mentioned.
No.
Look at its rating. It's like 6 on IMDb. It's I don't know. I wish you could have saw it in a theater because I do think it's a different experience, but I do still think you'll like it because it's not. You don't need to know where it's going, and this one is not. There's no. You can't tie it back to The Exorcist or Rosemary's Baby or anything. It's its own thing, and it's such a work of art from frame one to the last frame of the movie. It's gonna make me want to like everything Florence Pugh does going forward. Even if it sucks, I'm gonna kind of be like, well, it's not that bad. She's in it. She's good. It's it is if you have the word masterpiece does not. I mean this. Yeah,
it's transcendent. It really is, and Ari Aster is just the artist of this moment for me. He's just the way he manipulates you and draws you in and shocks you and then drops you back down. It is like it's like music. It's like experiencing a concept album almost. In the way it takes you in and sets you up and then knocks you down hard with something and then lets you breathe for a moment and then takes your breath away and then lets you breathe again. It's just he's so physically in control. This movie acts upon you in such a way that it's an experience. It's a not unlike a roller coaster ride, but far better, I would say.
Well, I'll say this: when Sean saw it before I did, and I think he just kind of texted me, "Oh my God, I don't," and I nothing really specific. And then I went and saw it, and then I'm texting him like, "I kind of feel drunk," and he's like, "So did I." And then I'm getting gas. He's like, "I went and got gas afterwards," and so then I started playing this album from this band called Coven. I'm like, I don't know why. I just started playing this album, Witchcraft by Coven, and Sean was like, okay, and he puts it on. It's like, holy shit. And we were like probably 3 days apart, too. It wasn't even, it was just kind of weird. Yeah. Now, I don't think you'll have the same due to I think the theater matters because it's just the screen doesn't stop moving. And it is intoxicating. I watched it again, and it's still fantastic. But it is just a work of art, and when you get to share that experience the way we did too, and then we also brought Zach in too, who had his own a little different, but still, and even Cousin Jeff.
Oh yeah,
it just like when you can share those experiences, like we did with Gone Girl or Batman and versus Superman. Even it's more fun, and that'll forever elevate Midsommar. And I like it. I almost feel like it's going to ruin the podcast because it took until Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for me to even like a movie. And I feel like Sean's getting, he got less cynical, but it's starting to make him cynical. That and Driving Miss Daisy, kind of a combination of the two.
Yeah, that did break me.
I'm so afraid of coming on for Dances with Wolves.
But it's just, and it's not, you sit there listening to Martin Scorsese talk about, cinema versus the Marvel movies. And he's right, but he's wrong. But he's still, when we looked at our top 10, I had The Joker and you had Little Women. Those are the only two previous IPs that existed. And Little Women's fantastic, by the way. You should go see it.
That's what I heard.
There is stuff out there that people just aren't going to. And if they're going to it, it's not for them. It's more for guys like us that are more movie buffs, and some are going to hit whatever, and some are going to miss, for us. Cloud Atlas is a perfect example. Midsummer's these are bold moves that are movies that are just artistic as fuck, for a lack of a smart way of saying it. I don't know. I'm excited to hear what you think about it. I wish you could have seen it in the theater. I hope it still works though, because
when I do see it, I is sitting close or having the sound up very high an important measure for you guys?
I mean, the closer you can make it to the theater, the better. Make it look like a theater. Weed comes legal in a week.
I was seriously going to ask you, when you said that you were drunk, would it help to be under the influence?
I watched it really tired, and that was kind of fun. I mean, it's a work of art, so it's not necessarily going to hit. It may or may not, and I understand. And I'm starting to get that now. When it's a total work of art, it hits some and it misses others.
Yeah.
And this is that, so I can't promise you it will. But you're not going to know what you're in for, and part of that's what's awesome. Hereditary does go a route you've seen before. I guess you could argue this does, but I don't know.
Oh man,
it's hard to.
I think I was in a 3 or 4 month coma after this movie. Honestly, I know I liked things after this, but I honestly it was 3 or 4 months where I was just dreaming of Midsommar and kind of wanting to see it again, and then seeing it again, and then seeing the director's cut, and then just wanting to experience it over and over again. I've seen it 5, 6 times now. I can't even recall how many times, but that first time was just incredible. And I walked out of the theater, Josh, and I was just muttering to myself about what I'd just seen in the final couple minutes, just over and over again, out loud to myself, just ignoring. I couldn't even notice anybody around me, just muttering to myself what I'd just seen, because I was just trying to process how bold and odd and indelible this image was that Ari Aster had created. And I woke up at the gas station getting gas. It's when I've kind of started to come out of it for a moment, and I had to message Bob to tell him what I'd seen.
And it was very vague what he messaged. So I mean, we just happened to follow the same route home. But more than anything, what it did is make me crave something original, and we got that at the end of the year. I mean, Uncut Gems, Lighthouse, Waves, Little Women. Even though that's not previous IP, what Greta Gerwig did was original. That's what I've been wanting. That's what's been frustrating me with the Avenger movies. As much as I like some of them and don't like others, it's these type of movies that, whether you like them or not, that's what we want. I think all of us want that. I'll take, if someone tried Cloud Atlas again, I don't give a shit. I'm going to hate something, but at least give me that original idea instead of Avengers 15 or Star Wars 87 or even fucking Creed 3. And as much as I like those, I want this. Creed's not on my list. I love Creed, but this is what I want. And I don't know.
I'm with you. I like the thought of having a challenge. You guys have hyped it up beyond belief, right? So It's the best film of the decade? Well, Jesus, let me get to it tonight, right? But I like the idea of keeping an open mind, knowing that I wasn't as crazy about his previous film. Is Jack Rayner the guy?
Yeah, Jack Rayner.
Okay, and I like him a lot from his role in Sing Street, and I think that's really the only thing that I've seen him. He's like Seth Rogen, but from Ireland. So I'm looking forward to it, that's for sure, especially with the trailer that I saw. I'll try and keep your opinions in the back of my mind, but I like the challenge of it.
But, I mean, just think about it. I forget the hype. Just remember, it could be our Cloud Atlas where you hate it, but it's its own original thing. And try not to even worry about what it is. Because I'll admit, like Uncut Gems, I love that movie, but I knew what it was 3 months before I saw it, and it just Get Out too. I didn't see it opening weekend, and it was just like I didn't get that experience the way that like Sean got to see it way before I did, and it's still amazing, but all of a sudden it's not number one, not number two, it's number 6 or whatever. So I don't know. I think you'll enjoy it for what it is. A24 top 10s real quick.
I did. I thought we'd do some honorable mentions first because I did want to say, just to be true to the podcast and to, of course, aggravate many people, that Batman versus Superman is an honorable mention for this show, just because we all liked it and nobody else did.
Yeah, I mean it's so easy to be, or even beyond that, Last Jedi. We all liked that one too, and no one else did. Even me. So there's that too. That's, people trying to be an original with previous IPs. And I think I'll still like movies, Black Panther or whatever, but just do something cool with it.
Yeah. Honorable mentions, obviously, know people know how much I love Les Mis, but also Sorry to Bother You was an incredible movie. Lady Bird, obviously.
Gonna come later.
Under the Skin is another one for us.
Silver Linings Playbook. Love that movie. Bradley Cooper again.
Big fan. Black Swan, or very early in the decade. Green Room, another one. We'll talk about that again in a moment. Columbus is a movie that nobody saw that only I love, with John Cho and Haley Lou Richardson, that everybody needs to check out. And You Were Never Really Here, which is, I think, for me, the best Joaquin Phoenix performance.
For honorable mentions, are you done with yours?
Yeah, go ahead.
Your mentions? Okay. I had Safety Not Guaranteed
I
from
had
2012.
that
That was hard to leave off of the list. Chef was something that was hard to leave off the list because of the
one of the most watchable movies
factor on that one. Absolutely. Before Midnight, Inherent Vice, The Descendants, which is in my top 100. That one sticks with me for how powerful it hit me at the right time, man. And teeny little ones that I know only I liked on the show, really, which is Wish I Was Here and Pete's Dragon. I know you were okay with Wish I Was Here at the time, but those two were really special for me.
I think Mad Max Fury Road was the best action movie of the decade. I loved Creed. What they did with that was pretty impressive, taking our destroyed IP and bringing it back and making it work. I think Hateful Eight gets better with age. We didn't love it at the time. We liked it, but it really has moved up my list of Tarantino movies. The Witch, we'll get to that later. Tully, Mandy. I don't know. We've talked American Sniper. That was a lot of fun. And Birdman. That was a great movie too.
Yeah. Love Birdman. Got to mention, of course, Jordan Peele, and Us and Get Out both would be
Toy Story 3.
Yeah,
my favorite Toy Story movie.
But I actually, if I were going further down my rankings, I actually ranked Us higher than Get Out. I think Us is even better than Get Out, and I think Jordan Peele's actually going to make something even better than that in the future.
I think so too.
Yeah, Us is my number 2 movie of the year.
Us was awesome. A24.
Obviously, we've already talked about most of these movies.
Let's not mention the movies we talked about.
Oh, hey, there you go.
Does that make it harder?
That takes 2 off of my list.
It takes 2 off my list as well. So I'll go to number 12. Anything you need to cross off, Josh?
No, actually. My top 10 didn't have any A24 in it.
All right, so what's your number 10 A24?
The Witch. Scary as hell. What I envision Midsommar will end up like, in that just the scenario of people in a field and in circles and worshiping something maybe, and being out of left field and it end up being real. The idea of The Witch is what goes into my head when I think of Midsommar.
I love The Witch. I'll get to it later, but there's an actual witch at the end. I mean, that's fucked up how he does that. Which is what I love so much about Hereditary. Uncut Gems. I don't know why I have it so fucking low. But it is, like I said, it is relentless. And I mean, I really think you're drawing, you're splitting straws here at this point. But Uncut Gems is phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got to say, let's see, Under the Skin would be my number 10. Scarlett Johansson. Very unique, very strange film, made on a unique budget and in almost a guerrilla fashion, with just such a bold and unique idea and a visual look, and it's weird and scary. The music is amazing, and Scarlett Johansson is just so charismatic. You can't take your eyes off of her, and just really, it's an incredible performance.
I'll get to it later.
Yeah, as will I. Number 9 for me is The Florida Project. I think about the kids and the performances that they had in that movie and how good Willem Dafoe is. I'm not always drawn to him, but how real that film felt and how it represented a portion of the population that doesn't always get represented, the poor.
Will you wear a Willem Dafoe shirt we're making?
His confusing penis. confusingly large penis.
You don't understand what Jeff drew is ridiculous, and it went from not being made to, okay, we're making this.
Okay, well, I'm curious to see it, of course.
If nothing else, it'll be a good cup or notebook.
Oh, interesting.
Well, I mean, you're not going to wear the shirt in public, let's be honest.
Oh, I don't know. I don't have any shame.
It is a great design. I fell in love with it. Anyway, Florida Project. I love that movie. It was actually 11. Enemy. That was my number 10. And part of it is because Sean discovered it and I didn't. He said, go see this movie. It was amazing. That last second, you won't even know how to react. And he was right. And then we did the podcast, and we really need to re-release the podcast. Yeah. Really is what it comes down to. But it was to the point where it's lost a little bit of its luster for me in terms of the top 10. Plus, A24 doesn't fuck up. So you really can't judge any of our lists wrong. But that's where I'm at. What do you got for number 9?
Krisha. I've got Krisha at number 9. Krisha Fairchild, of course, was a guest on this show. And it's Trey Edward Schultz, who's an absolute genius, just an amazing director. I didn't love It Comes at Night, but this movie is it's so bold and hypnotic, and it's so real. I mean, this character Krisha, she walks into a room and the temperature changes. It's like, and she's just such an amazing character. The way he directs her, it's not even about, like, she's not a supernatural villain, but she almost feels that way. She carries the weight of that when she walks into a room, and to capture that with just pure direction is fantastic. It's just such an amazing talent.
And let's be clear, when you said you weren't crazy about It Comes at Night, you weren't as crazy as that as you were Krisha.
Yeah.
That was still a phenomenal movie. The way he directs is, and we're going to get to it later, I'm sure. But Krisha, I don't have it on my list because, you can't pick a wrong 10. But that was a fun podcast, and that movie, it was like a Thanksgiving dinner that you felt like something was going to go wrong the entire time by the way he shot it. It just felt like a horror movie, and it wasn't. And that was remarkable in and of itself.
My number 8 is Moonlight. I won Best Picture, obviously, but I like the unique, again, a voice of a part of the population that is not represented well on screen, and the different emotions and feelings that were alien to me, but I definitely learned more about it. And on top of that, the emotion behind it was familiar. It's beautifully shot by Barry Jenkins as well. The performances by 3 different actors to portray one character. And Mahershala Ali is incredible in this movie. It makes me very happy to think that he's going to be a star.
Oh yeah, the introduction of him alone makes this movie phenomenal.
Yeah.
But yeah, Moonlight, Best Picture, whatever year that was, last year,
2016 and 2017.
Yeah, I guess it's my turn, huh? Under the Skin. Love that movie. I love the subtleness of it. I love, I remember one of your complaints was some of the long shots, but I loved the long shots because I thought it was more. It just added to the tension. I think the road trip that went with it, that added to it, and because Sean had already discovered Enemy, this is kind of us discovering it together, and I'll always have it a step above Enemy because of that very reason, And then the idea that a lot of the people, it was literally Scarlett Johansson pulling over and grabbing random guys and having these, they weren't actors, which Uncut Gems too, no actors. Not all of them were actors. I thought Under the Skin was phenomenal.
My list, my number 9 is mid-90s. Jonah Hill's directed movie about little kids in the 90s and skateboarding and just this random collection of characters who are so wonderfully and brilliantly realized. It's a movie that has a lot of reality to it, and it's also just this wonderful piece of direction that is just so subtle and so observational, and it feels like you're in conversation with this movie talking about memories of your own life. and for Jonah Hill as a first-time director to really capture that and make it feel so authentic is definitely a sign of his talent, and one that I can't wait to see further down the road.
Are we on 7?
I was my number 9, I thought.
I think that was your 8.
Was it? Oh, wait, maybe it was. Okay,
yeah.
Sorry.
So we're on 7 now.
7 is First Reformed for me. Ethan Hawke has never been better. This story got more intense and more intense as it went along. It was like a downward spiral into psychosis. And then, yeah, he really went there at the end. And that kind of bold stroke stuck with me. And the thought of this one gets better with me as it stays in my head. And it turns out that last year, the top 3, I mean, for crying out loud, it was BlackKklansman and First Reformed and A Star Is Born. That's possibly the best top 3 of any that I have.
And you didn't like Hereditary.
Yeah, right.
That's my top 4. First Reform, same for me, number 7. And I think we had 2 polar opposite opinions of the ending, and that's how great this movie is. It was just so perfect, so well made. I love it. What do you got?
I have The Farewell. Awkwafina just this year, likely an Oscar nominee, telling a story that is very unique in her culture in a very unique way. It's about a movie about death, about a woman who doesn't know that she's dying, and her family are going to try not to tell her that she is, and going to visit her and try and have this time with her where she doesn't realize what's going on, and Awkwafina dealing with the moral quandary of having this information and holding it from someone she loves so deeply. And it's such a complex and lovely story. It's got a lot of dark humor to it, but also a lot of genuine humor and a lot of warmth and love and family, and it's exceptional. What a wonderful movie, and certainly Awkwafina is an actress that I certainly didn't expect to see this type of performance from.
But it's also really neat, too, the opening your eyes to other cultures and the way they view things. This one captured that better than most do. Just go, if you have a chance to see it, even if you're not into that type of movie, it's going to be really watchable, and you're going to enjoy it quite a bit, and it's really good. What do you got next, Josh?
I have Krisha, and you guys pretty much summed it up well, but I felt so proud about that particular moment in time for this show, and actually speaking with this, I get starstruck pretty easily, and I know we weren't talking to a movie star per se, but the lead of the film, that's the best I've gotten. You know? I mean, I did interview Kurt Russell's nephew or whatnot for the baseball documentary, but beyond that, this movie to me was it was tense all the time, and the atmosphere of it is the kind of thing that I want to wrap myself around. And even though It Comes at Night was slightly disappointing to me because of the lack of payoff, that one had an atmosphere that was oppressive too. And I love that kind of thing.
It was a lot like Krisha, except for it was a horror movie, which made it lesser, which was disappointing. But wait till you see Waves. That's all I
Yeah.
I love Krisha off my list largely because I wanted to talk about other A24 movies. I knew it would be on at least one of your lists, but phenomenal. The Disaster Artist is what I had next. I've gotten this new appreciation for The Room in more than just a bad movie. I've read the book. I like that. Even when, like last week, when Sean compared Cats to that, and I kind of shot back, and Sean got pissed off at me. It was because I don't think The Room's bad. I think it is I think it's a work of art that was misguided, and to me, I don't know. It's just there's so much there that's why it's lived on as long as it has. It's not just simply that it's bad, and that's why a book was made and then a movie was made. And I just think I just have this appreciation for it that anytime someone calls it a bad movie that's so bad it's good, I have to jump in and be like, no, it's not. It's more than that. So, anyway, go ahead.
You will acknowledge, though, that the perception of that film is where I'm coming from, and people see.
Oh, I know. It's just one of those things where you know how you have an opinion, you just can't keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
So going forward, when you hear me defend The Room, just know that's what I'm doing.
My next one is The Witch. Robert Eggers is really amazing, and that there's a death very early in this movie that you're like, that doesn't happen in movies. They don't do that in movies, and then he does it. And it's like, okay, now we're here. The movie started. I'm in. What's next? And he just keeps finding a way to up the ante over and over and over again. I actually like this one even more than I like The Lighthouse, which I really like a lot. But I think this is actually better than The Lighthouse.
I agree completely.
Is it the same director?
Yeah. To me, in my opinion, you know how you have Inarritu, Del Toro, and whoever the other guy is, Cuarón. You have those three that kind of always get put together. I think Eggers, Treadward Schultz, and Ari Aster are always going to be I think they're going to become a trio of.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm telling you right now, The Lighthouse is great too. That's actually my next one. We'll get to it later on. I love The Witch.
Is The Lighthouse also is the Willem Dafoe Robert Pattinson one?
Where we got another T-shirt coming off.
All right.
That movie.
Batman versus Jesus?
Yes.
Okay. See, I listen.
Watch The Lighthouse a couple times. One was just thinking about Batman and Jesus. And I'm telling you, it works. Where are you at?
I'm at number 5, which is 8th grade. Partly because of the delightful coming of age story and the honest way in which this 8th grade girl is portrayed, but also because of the surprise of it. I do not like Bo Burnham as a comedian at all. He steps on all of my last nerves and then just like smushes them into the ground. But him as a director and writer, if he can make crap like this all the time, like, that's good stuff right there. This is a dangerous thing to say, I think here, but he reminds me of the way that I felt about Zach Braff when he was making Garden State. It's kind of like from out of nowhere, he created this really poignant thing. And that's the comparison that I'm making. Not that those two are the same person, and then out of nowhere, the character of Josh Hamilton playing her dad, guy that I haven't seen since With Honors in '94. The moment around the fireplace that those two have towards the end of the film is one of the absolute strangest, funniest, coolest, deepest, sweetest moments I've ever seen.
You said With Honors, like anybody knows what that is besides me and Sean.
I actually own that movie. I like it. It's not good, but
I know what you're talking about. But
you're in the room with the only other person who can probably name another Josh Hamilton movie. So there you go.
I thought you were talking about the baseball player.
You're probably right. Well, my former boss's name is also that, and he's a massive douchebag.
So is the baseball player. Yeah. I haven't seen 8th grade, and the one time my family brought it home to rent, we were recording down here, so I didn't get to see it. So hopefully someday I do get the chance. I will go with The Lighthouse. Probably, I mean, because of the Batman Jesus thing that, I mean, I'm getting contacted by listeners about it, so that's also adding to it. It was a fun movie. It was an impressive movie. I think The Witch is better, but I think this is more impressive. At the same, I don't know if that makes sense. This one could have been screened in the 1930s, but it works in 2019. It is just really weird how he made this movie work. And, you know, maybe there's no wrong way to look at it either. He's crazy. He's not crazy. Willem's crazy. He's not. It doesn't matter. It's fun and it works. And because of that, you could watch it multiple times with multiple perspectives, and it's just a fun movie. And it's just a really impressive outing as far as I'm concerned, if nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, as a piece of direction, it's pretty incredible, and the black and white photography adds so much to the authenticity of the feel. It does feel like a movie out of time, and it sets it apart from every other movie out there, being in black and white. And there's a lot of really stunning imagery and dialogue even in this movie that just you're kind of gripping your seat the entire time, going, because you have no idea where this is headed, no clue, and it's headed to a place that isn't really all that like overstated. It's but it works. It all works, and it's unpredictable and exciting and weird.
What do you got next?
My number 4 is Under the
All
Skin.
right, what about him? You got number 5.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Josh.
I completely, yeah.
My number 5 is Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler's best performance ever. Just
Ever.
Unquestionably. There has not been a better Sandler than this. Howard is an indelible character. He's an action movie in a human form. He's just never stops. This whirling dervish of energy and life and vitality and excitement, and the character just drives this amazing story about sports gambling and diamonds, and this guy who just can't rest. He's just got this thing in him that he will just not allow himself to slow down for a second. One of the first things you see of him is he's having a 3-way. Like, this guy's life just does not pause for a moment, and he's finding new ways to amp up the excitement while also, having real life, at his heels at every moment, and having to deal with kids' plays, but also having murderers coming to the play to possibly take him out. Like, it's just all these things are happening to him, and it's happening all at once, and he's making them happen through his actions. And I just love this movie. It's relentless. It's unstoppable. And the ending just arrives, and it's just you're punched right in the face, and you're knocked back in your seat, and it's over. What?
Right. Yeah, it is. I am shocked that he's not nominated for every award there is. That kind of baffles my mind. I know Joaquin Phoenix was great. He's better. I mean, what's better mean? Right. But
right.
He should be in the conversation across the board, and it's shocking that he's not.
It's unquestionable to me. This is the best performance by an actor this year.
I agree completely.
I think it makes more sense to say that. I mean, despite I haven't seen it obviously, but is it more of a stretch to say Joaquin Phoenix was great or Adam Sandler was great?
Well, that's the thing. You have the story to go with it because it's Adam Sandler, and that's what's shocking to me. The Oscars haven't come out yet, but did he get a Golden Globe nom?
I don't know, honestly, off the top of my head.
I don't. There was stuff. He was left off of different awards, which shocked me, but it doesn't really matter. But what do you got for number 4, Josh?
Under the Skin. Not only the experience of the show, but people leaving the theater because they were grossed out or didn't get it or had no idea what they were doing. But in particular, how this film genuinely terrified me. I really had no idea what was coming a few times, and to see what I saw, it was a mind fuck. That's the best way to explain it. And yes, there were some pregnant pauses to me in this movie, but I almost don't care anymore, honestly. The thought of going back to it is exciting to me. Johan Johansson with that score, as you mentioned earlier. Yeah. The late, great Johan Johansson. Anyways.
No, I love that movie. My number 4 is The Witch. Again, this movie about a witch where you think it's too artistic that they're not going to have a witch in it, and sure enough, they do. I don't know. It's kind of Hereditary light for me. It's that, and that's not an insult by any means, because I think I hold Hereditary in a really high regard. But it's a phenomenal movie, and I think he's a phenomenal director, and we've all talked about it, so I don't really have anything else to say about The Witch.
My next one is Waves. That's Trey Edward Schultz directing this 2-part story, essentially, that has the best scene of 2019 in it, a scene between Sterling K. Brown and his daughter that is just... It is absolutely amazing. Josh, everybody's had it, and I'm curious about your feelings on this. A moment where an adult, for the first time in your life, got real with you and brought you up to their level emotionally.
Or
yeah,
brought themselves down to your level. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, that never happened, it seems, but
you know what I mean. Where it's just all of a sudden you realize, oh my God, they're idiots too, or what, for lack of a better phrase. But
seeing that strength drained from somebody who's so strong right in front of you for the first time.
Yeah, wow, that's a thing.
And he captures that moment in this movie, and I've never seen it quite like that before. It's amazing, and the whole movie is amazing. Something happens about the midway point that you can't even imagine. It's just the level of tragedy and trauma, and then it goes off on this whole other story that is mirroring the previous story, but its own thing, and with equally brilliant themes. It's a masterful piece of direction. Schultz has set you up for how amazing a director he is, and you're just kind of blown away by the things that he captures, the images that he captures. How did he even get a couple of these shots?
Right.
We're still kind of trying to figure out how he shot some of this stuff in a car that is it's one of the most amazing shots I've ever seen. This movie's amazing. It gets better the more time I spend with it, and yeah, I love Waves.
I did watch the trailer for Waves, and it was an impressive trailer.
But you have no idea what it's about, do you?
No. If
We're
anything,
the
it looked...
only human beings on the planet talking about this movie.
To me, it actually resembled more of an Alexander Payne movie or something than something from Trey Edward Schultz because of the two projects that he did before.
When you see it, it makes sense. But I'll get to it later.
Oh, we're at number 3 now?
Number 3.
Yeah, The Disaster Artist. Also for the surprise factor, but gosh, it goes even back to not just Stars Born and Once, but a movie like Begin Again, where you see people trying so hard to bring their creation to life. And this movie understands the spirit of that in a particular way. It's not that it wasn't hard or anything like that. It's just examining how different some people go about making art. And it appreciated everyone involved with the project to a certain extent, and showing him a bit honestly, but it all seems authentic to me, regardless of the personalities of the people involved, or maybe they shot something that was kind of nonsense or sexist or whatever the case may be. It was all authentic and real and honest right there, and this movie captures that spirit. And James Franco didn't piss me off this time. So.
Nor did Seth Rogen.
Or Dave Franco. Yeah, there's like a triumvirate of people I generally hate that made this movie wonderful.
I just hate him because he's married to Alison Brie.
So watchable, this movie. You can watch this 100 times and still enjoy it every time.
Yeah, I mean, I've already said what I have to say about it, but I appreciate everything regarding this movie. I love it. My number 3 is Waves. Same thing. It baffles my mind why this isn't. Like, I get Midsommar, why it's not. I don't understand why this isn't talked about as the best movie of the year. It is ridiculously well made, ridiculously original, and so powerful. Like I said, him, Robert Eggers, and Ari Aster are going to be the next 3 great directors we're going to be talking about, and I feel like only we're talking about them. It frustrates the hell out of me, but and I don't think you're going to see them doing a Star Wars or an adventure movie. They're going to keep doing stuff like this, and ultimately they might get that recognition, but Waves is ridiculously good, and I can't wait for you to see that. I think that's one you'll definitely like. Go ahead, number 3.
Number 3, Moonlight. Of course, Barry Jenkins just taking you into a unique life, and doing so with compassion and sensitivity and a deep amount of care, and telling the story in 3 different ways and 3 different time periods leading up to this moment at the end that is just so lovely. 2 people connecting on a human and romantic level that they've denied themselves for so long, and that's just so goddamn lovely. And he just draws you into it ever so slightly, and then gives you these jolts, like that brilliant tracking shot of the kid angry walking into the school. You watch him walk through the door. He's walking through the halls. He's ignoring people. He's not looking at anybody around him. He bursts through the door. He grabs that chair and he whacks that guy over the back with it. And that is an amazing piece of direction. And you're with it. You're in it. And it's so cathartic and necessary. And it just thrusts the movie into its next realm. It's just absolutely a brilliant piece of direction that will always stay with me.
Yeah, it's I mean, won the Best Picture, rightfully so, when it did.
It's funny that if Beale Street Could Talk, his follow-up film, I like that even more, but the similarities between the two are the capturing characters at breaking points, and Regina King's moment in that movie comes to mind. She's trying just so damn hard, and the characters get some release at some point. My number 2 is Ex Machina. I am reticent to say that it's my favorite A24 movie for particular reasons, but it's science fiction. It's Oscar Isaac, and the breakout performance of Alicia Vikander, whatever the case may be, and talking about artificial intelligence in a very difficult and particular way, and what does it mean to us? I'm reminded of a quote from a movie that I can't think of right now, talking about smashing an anthill in Africa. Oh, it's Contact. And what would we feel about if we smushed an anthill in Africa? Well, this is the same thing. Should we, could we, should we, et cetera, et cetera. It asks smart questions, and the weirdness of it, too, comes through. Oscar Isaac and his eccentricities in this movie are always something I'll remember.
I absolutely love this movie. It didn't make my list. It was actually number 12, but it's... I think I said at the time it was complicated but too simple at the same time, and that I think that's the only thing that kind of holds me back on it in terms of, again, you're splitting hairs. But Oscar Isaac really owns this movie, and I love it.
Yeah, he's amazing in that movie.
My number 2 is Lady Bird. Kind of similar to La La Land for you. This movie has no business being in anywhere near my wheelhouse, but it shocked the hell out of me, and Greta Gerwig will forever be one of my favorite directors because of it. Saoirse Ronan will forever be loved because of it. This movie, I'm married to a woman that's both the daughter and the mother at the same time, and it is such a perfect movie because of that. And I don't know, it just, when you get caught off guard, that matters a little more. You know, it's easy for me to like a horror movie or something dark, but this came out a different direction and just knocked me on my ass. And it, similar to The Big Sick, it just really put me in a different spot, and I love this movie.
My number 2 is Lady Bird. I'll echo exactly what you said. It's wonderful. And Greta Gerwig is such a smart director, and the choices that she makes are ingenious. And then, you know, her chemistry with Saoirse Ronan and directing her and bringing out of her what she wants is just magnificent. And she's such a wonderful avatar for her. She just really, they seem to be on a wavelength that is reminiscent of, you know, Scorsese and De Niro. Like that level of connection between a director and an actor. They just have that. They seem to evince that rhythm on screen, and it's just such an exciting and fun movie, and wonderfully unique character, and she's just so well performed.
Yeah. Number 1
is Enemy. It
really. Nice.
For A24, yeah. And there's a particular reason for that. It's set up for me what I would expect out of a smaller independent film in terms of visuals, performance, music, twists of plot, and the weaving of a story together so that you need to pay attention. It held me attention-wise, and then at the end, there's such a bonkers moment that, I mean, it made me question whether I liked the movie, whether or not I just saw what I saw made any sense, if it was a deleted scene that somehow got left in the movie, did I see a bad copy? All of those things went through my head, and it's so complicated. And then on top of it, you see the career of Villeneuve after this just keeps getting better. It's almost like I felt like I was a part. I feel a little hipstery about Enemy, is what I'm trying to say. I didn't bring it to the show, but at the same time, I feel like I'm part of this little group that was championing something at the beginning, you know? Ugh.
And I'm not capable of, like, since Sean did it, I'm not capable of doing what you're doing. Sure. Which is way more healthy. But you're right. I mean, and to see what he, like you said, he went and did Arrival after this, and then he does Blade Runner. And as great as Blade Runner was, it was kind of a failure. They're going to let him do Dune, and it's really, that's how good he is. And it makes you want to. I mean, to me, it could be him and Fincher and Ari Aster as the top 3 out there right now. I just worry that he's going to make too many movies that don't make money.
There's another thing. Prisoners is a really good movie. Sicario, forget about that one. And that one is, for me, very watchable just for the filmmaking alone. Like, I don't need the Mexican cartel stuff, but about Enemy, one more thing. It's Jake Gyllenhaal giving 2 very different performances in the same movie that, to me, they could have won an award for either performance. That is so unique that nothing else on this list really has for me.
That is a remarkable trick to pull off those 2 characters, and they're so incredibly different.
Yeah.
My number 1, and I mean, if Sean has this number 1, I'll be really shocked. I'm hoping this is my own, but Most Violent Year. I don't know. I just connected to this movie. You got Oscar Isaac, you got Jessica Chastain, and who was the other guy? Oh my god,
Oyelowo, David Oyelowo.
Yeah. Oh my god, I connected to this movie like I don't think a lot of people did. It was heartbreaking. It was frustrating, and I don't know. Being in the business world and being an accountant, it really just, he's wanting to do the right thing, and behind his back, his wife's doing the wrong thing the whole time, and now he has to make a decision I could totally relate to what he was going through on a lesser extent, but it was just so real life, so frustrating, so I don't know. It really spoke to me, and that's why I think it elevates a little more, because I feel like it's mine, if that makes any sense.
Didn't actually make my top 10, though.
Good.
I love that movie, but
good.
It's a wonderful film.
Well, I love all of these. I mean, I have a top 25, if I'm being honest. And that's leaving off probably another 5 that I loved as well.
I mean, I'm doing a top 10 list where I've got, Midsommar, Hereditary, and Enemy are off the list, so I had to move everything else up. And that means that Green Room is my number 1. Green Room is bold and dangerous and scary. It's a better horror movie than most horror movies, and it's not even really necessarily a horror movie. Jeremy Saulnier is a very very good director. He's got such an amazing touch to delivering the violence of this movie in a very impactful way. It's not too gory, but it's gory enough that it's shocking and gripping, and the excitement of this movie, these wonderful characters that he creates with Anton Yelchin and Elia Shawkat and Imogen Poots, and that last image of the 2 of them sitting together is just, what a comic beat, just brilliant. And you've got Sir Patrick Stewart with a great villain character. Oh man, I love this movie, and I think if there's anybody who's going to join those 3 directors we've been talking about as one of the greats, it's Saulnier is right below them, and has the chance, hopefully, if he doesn't get too distracted by TV, which he is right now, to be among the great directors.
Yeah, that was right outside my list. Right off the bat, they established that no one is safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Going into the belly of a realistic beast.
Yes.
I mean, all other movies, we didn't talk about Locke. I love that
Locke's
movie.
a good movie.
I know Sean wasn't crazy about it, but I like Climax a lot.
I didn't see that one. Is that the Gaspar Noé disco or dancing thing?
It's just weird. And there's no script. I mean, it's its own thing, and if nothing else, I'm sure Sean appreciates this an original piece of art.
Yeah.
Tusk, The Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Great
movie. I don't know. Spring Breakers.
Spring Breakers, yeah. Fantastic James Franco performance. Weird piece of direction from Harmony Korine. Yeah. Mississippi Grind. I'm surprised you didn't bring that up.
It is number 11.
Room, of course, the best picture nominee that we hadn't
None of us had Room. Did it win?
It didn't win best picture.
She won.
She won. Yeah. Brie Larson's incredible in that movie. Swiss Army Man is underrated. Fun. I love that movie.
I still haven't seen the Dick one that came out this year.
I know.
Apparently.
I still want to see that. That one.
Do you guys? I don't know if you ended up seeing this, Bob. Sean, I know you did. Slice.
Yes.
Do you remember that? Okay.
That's terrific.
With the hilarious weird beats that movie plays.
Yeah. Common and Paul Scheer and Zazie Beetz.
Yeah. Chance the Rapper, is it?
Chance the Rapper. Yeah. Was he like a werewolf?
Yes.
Yeah, that movie gets better when I think about it.
Oh, as long as they keep going the route they're going, A24 is as good as it gets. You could look at Miramax back in the day, but they eventually went mainstream. A24 has been pretty consistent, and that's what I love about them.
I saw a movie that I haven't had a chance to talk about yet called The Souvenir, which is pretty incredible.
Shouldn't that pop on a lot of best of the year lists?
It's really great. It's about drug addiction and a woman who's dealing with her boyfriend who has a pretty serious heroin addiction, but is also kind of holding himself together well enough that she finds it hard to get rid of him because he seems to be so holding it together all the time. And it's really a fascinating movie because you really hate this guy, and they still hold you to it. They hold you to the screen, and you can't take your eyes off of it. Last Black Man in San Francisco.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was a great movie that just came out this year. Very gentle, sweet, funny story that's very odd. And Under the Silver Lake with Andrew Garfield.
We had issues with it, but for nothing else, it was a really original, unique movie.
Oh, I forget. Who was the director on that one? We really liked his first movie.
That was David Robert Mitchell.
No. It's the director of It Follows. That's what I'm thinking of, and how not necessarily. Did we call It Follows original or just kind of like?
We liked It Follows okay. I think a lot of people liked it better.
He was the director of It Follows.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is fine. There's issues we both had with it. But
it's unique. It's very unique.
I'll take it. I want this type of. It's kind of a swing and a miss, but I'll take it. I think we would all agree. I mean, I think you'd probably call Tusk a swing and a miss. We'd all call different movies a swing and a miss.
Tusk was going very well for a while.
But
I love Tusk.
But they're all swinging, and that's what when we talked about Star Wars a couple weeks ago, it was very much. It was just there's a lot of safe talk, and it's not. I'm not
bunting,
right? Just like we'll just make sure we get a single.
Yeah.
And that's what it's just bold. We'll disagree on some of these, and that's good. But for the most part, like I said, I had a list of 25 and left 5 off, including Spring Breakers that I thought were phenomenal. So that's how great A24 has been. And
yeah, in fact, in the last 10 years, my list went 22 deep, and I left a few off that I saw but didn't really care for. What other studio has got 25, 22, whatever movies throughout this decade that you can say for sure?
Yeah, what are we talking about? Like a 7-year period, 6-year period? They've done
well,
this?
You could look at Sean and my top 6, and I think we just rotated them for the best of the decade. But our A24 list was completely different.
Yeah,
that's how great A24 is. And it's you can say Florida Project, and I could say a Most Violent Year or whatever, and you get it. It's I don't know. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's been a shitty day, and this has been a good ending to that shitty day.
Agreed.
So thank you guys for doing this for me. This has really improved my mood quite a bit.
Therapy for me, man. Like I get to stop shouting at walls, when I show up here. So.
And I know you don't get out as much to the theaters as you did, but when you do, come back. This is fun.
No kidding.
Well, I did get a shit ton of gift cards for theaters, and I forgot to cancel my, unlimited whatever at Cinemark, and so I've got a number of free movies loaded up there. So
me too. I have both Cinemark and Regals going at the same time.
if I thought that the upcoming year was going to be chock full of really good stuff, I think I would probably opt in for the Regal one because that's the local one. But it's looking a little bleak for me for a while up until Midsommar.
Right.
Well,
once again, no pun intended this time.
I can't wait to see 1917. And then what else is coming? There's a couple other things coming out pretty quick.
Bad Boys for Life? No.
I mean, I'll go see it just for the podcast, maybe. But
fuck you, Josh.
I'm sorry. Are you gonna talk about Bad Boys that week, you think?
I have no idea what we're doing.
Yeah,
we're so you know how it is. It's like, what are you doing today?
That's true, but in some cases you're already talking about Fincher for the next Fincher movie that's coming out.
We're doing right now the next classic is Zodiac.
Okay. And you were also talking about bringing Inception to the show when Tenet comes out. So sometimes you plan ahead, and therefore I thought, hey, maybe they're doing Bad Boys because Bad Boys 2. I know that is a shitty movie, but it is so. It's like Tango and Cash in a way.
Can I admit something? I've never seen a Bad Boys movie.
I'm afraid to keep going. Then.
I like the original Bad Boys, but I probably won't when I watch it again. It's just
so that's a classic that week.
Sorry, I brought it up if it puts you through misery.
I don't know. Whatever. Just get me to November.
When is our first A24 movie? That's what I need to know.
There's a couple I miss. We need to. Hopefully, we get that Dick movie. There's this other one.
I'm sorry.
Are you familiar with the Dick movie?
Oh yes, absolutely. It's free, but I only see little clips of it. I'm just kidding. It's a bad joke that didn't go over well. You can just clip that right up.
Where have you seen this free Dick movie?
www.mrskin.com. Right, Bob?
I'm a member. Saint Maud, I'm excited about.
Yeah, that looks good. I think that might be the first one of the next year.
But there's a couple that came out last year that we didn't get to see. Maybe not. In Fabric, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
The Death of Dick Long. I think The Death of Dick Long and The Souvenir I need to see.
There's one called like Charlie the Third or something like that. The something of Charlie the Third or Charles the Third. When I was looking up A24 movies to make sure I wasn't forgetting anything, I saw something that had the third at the end of it, or like the literally 1, 2, 3 added on the end. I was surprised too. In trying to find these out, I added some to my A24 list that I thought had been A24 movies. Like Inside Llewyn Davis. For some reason, I just had it in my head that was A24. Gosh, I can't even remember the other ones.
Well, even like Ghost Story and even Free Fire, for that matter.
I hate Free Fire. That's the one.
But that's fine. But at least it's not. It's not. It's still original idea. It's not a. I don't know.
Oh, it was Brooklyn that I thought was A24 for some reason.
Brooklyn.
And that's not one that we brought up on this particular show as an honorable mention, but I've appreciated that more over time too.
What is about Leslie Brown? I've seen that.
Oh, that's the Bill Pullman Western.
Oh, that was awesome.
That was good, right? Yeah.
Yeah, now that I look at it. Yeah, go watch that one too. You're not going to like them all, but there's enough great A24 movies. And there's so many. Have we seen Native Son?
Native Son.
I don't know. Gloria Bell, that was
really good with Julianne Moore. Yeah, that's a really solid performance. And Obvious Child is another really good one that people might have missed out on.
Jenny Slate?
Yeah.
What about High Life? Did you see that one?
High Life, yes. Claire Denis, Robert Pattinson, sci-fi movie.
That's available?
It's out there, yeah. It came out back in June. I think it's available to stream now.
I haven't seen it either.
It's intense and weird, and I loved it. I didn't love it enough to put it on this list or remember it, but Claire Denis is not everybody's taste.
Yeah, I need to get to that in the souvenir quick. The Kill Team, I don't know what that is. I don't know. There's a lot. Saint Maud, Zola, Minari, First Cow are the ones coming out soon.
Can't wait.
I remember when we first started talking about A24, you had also mentioned the Bling Ring.
Bling Ring, A24.
Is one of the very first ones, and that was kind of like the cause to look into the studio more after Enemy, because you're like, yeah, and I also liked the Bling Ring, despite the fact
you liked Spectacular Now.
Yes, but that came a little bit later. And like Spring Breakers came later too, because you guys were talking about it, and I was trying
it was all before
to,
Enemy, though.
But I saw them afterwards. Is what I'm getting at. Like Spectacular Now, I saw in 2015, and yeah, that made it onto my list at number 12 for A24. But
the end of the tour was a good
Jason,
movie. Jason Segel and Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah,
and the documentary Amy is quite good as well.
Yeah, basically, this is A24 is keeping my love for movies alive single-handedly. Really, when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
They should really send you guys to more screenings.
Sean, I need to give you back your chocolate, by the way. You
What's
gave
that?
it to me a long time ago, but Sean gave me this vodka from A24 that they gave him that he doesn't...
Chocolate? What chocolate?
The Oscar stuff from we'll talk about it after this podcast.
Oh, okay.
We were going to eat it on the show at one point, and then we never did, and like... You gave, I don't know, it's sitting over there. I'll show it to you.
Yeah, I don't remember.
All right. Anything else? We need to wrap this up. Thank you guys for doing this. This was a lot of fun. And please come back whenever you see a movie, because this has been fun, and I miss it.
I will definitely try and see more movies.
You don't gotta see
I'm
more.
like Jeremy Saulnier right now. I'm too into TV.
When you see something, come on.
Okay.
Please. We love it. It's a lot of fun for me. That's the show. Bye.
That ought to do it. Thanks very much, Ray.
And we're the three best friends that anybody could have. We're the three best friends that anyone could have. We're the three best friends that anyone can have. And we'll never, ever, 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 ever leave each other. We're the best three friends that anybody could have. I mean the three best friends that anybody could have. That's right, the three best friends.
We all took notes and stuff.
It was a hard list to make for the decade. I literally, Wikipedia, of course, has the year in film for every year. I literally looked through every theater release for the past 10 years. And was amazed at how that started upticking for me, hitting 2013. Amazingly, I started to see more.
Initially, I ranked 127 movies.
Oh, shit.
Just using the ranking engine just because I was bored.
Is that on the flick chart thing too, or a different one?
No, this is different. This is a ranking engine is just this thing you can build yourself, like your own version of flick chart.
Oh, is that what you used for the top 100 thing too? Yeah.
Yeah, to get to it. That's what I did too. And then we tried to do a podcast where we ranked like a ton of movies, and it just did not work when it's with two people, and then if it disagreed on one, then later on it swapped. I don't know. It's more for a one person thing.
I haven't listened to the show last week when you guys did the year. Was it Midsommar?
Yeah.
No. Zombieland 2.
That was on the other list.
The more I get away from it, though, I kind of think, for me, Captain Marvel's not. It's not that it's bad, but it disappointed me. I know you had it on your list as the one superhero to have on there, but I was expecting a lot more from that movie. But I didn't say it at the time. I just wanted to say it now. It's been eating at me for a day.
It's still the only Marvel movie I've only seen once. I mean, it's recent, but...
All right, we ready?
Yeah.